Beach State here with Mason Briggs, Aiden Knife, and head coach Alan Knife. If you want to start with the opening statement, and then we'll move to questions.
Yeah, this is this is a great time of the season, exciting, and I think that all the teams that have been here, never mind the teams that are left, are great teams and have had an amazing season. But I do think that the 4 teams that are left are all really exciting. It should be a good time for especially you in the media to write all sorts of scenarios and histories and all sorts of stuff. So it's impressive for our sport, impressive for our game. I think it's gonna be great for the volleyball fans to see really men's volleyball at a really high level with this kind of parity in the Final Four. So we're just looking forward to the opportunity to get out and compete. Our guys are excited to be here and can't wait to get on the court tomorrow night.
Vane Lips here from Off the Block. Question for both the players. You played UCLA in the regular season. Those matches didn't go the way you wanted to go. So what do you all have to do differently tomorrow night to get a different outcome as opposed to the regular season?
Go ahead.
Let me dig it.
You start.
Well, we didn't really like the way we played that weekend. We did enjoy the response we brought the second night. We weren't really big fans of the way we played night one, but we're looking just to come in and compete to the level that we've been playing at, and we're a different team than we were at the beginning of the season during that non-conference schedule. So just coming in and just being us,
Yeah, and I think, like he said, that night 1 to night 2 from UCLA that weekend, there was even a response between those 2 nights, and we only lost by a few points, and I think it was the 3rd or 4th sets, it was right there, deuce set. So we played a little bit more the way that we wanted to play, the brand of volleyball that we have been striving to play the entire season, and I think we've been able to grow and hopefully be able to squeeze out a few more points down the stretch here.
And Aiden, just to follow up on kind of what Mason was saying, what you said, talking about the team's growth, what have you seen as the biggest improvement in this team from the start of the season?
I think we just have kind of found our stride a little bit consistency-wise. We definitely were reaching a high level at the beginning of the year, but there were also points where maybe we were falling off a little bit, but now I think we're playing a very high level, consistent brand of volleyball as compared to kind of going in and out of that level in the beginning of the year.
And then Coach, Andrew Rowan had just kind of started the setter position when you played him. Is it helpful in this match just to have a little more film on him to track tendencies or anything along those lines?
Sure, I think anytime you can see a guy over kind of a body of work helps. Yeah, he's doing a great job, and he's running their offense well. They got a nice team, had a really nice season, and they've been real consistent throughout the year. So there's no doubt they're playing at a very, very good level. For us, we can't get caught up in a whole lot of that stuff because there's also depth on their team. They can move pieces around, bring different guys in. For us, the most important thing, and what's always been really good for us, is making sure that we're dialed in on the way we want to play, and we have our short list of what we want to do on both sides of the ball, and commit to that, and then commit to the brand of volleyball we want to play. And I do think that both the guys mentioned that there was a response from night 1 to night 2. But it was a long time ago, and both teams are completely different when you watch them on video right now. It's just a matter of the growth, and then the other one is the maturity in the moment. So making sure that we're prepared to execute through the good and the bad, and being composed late in sets, and at the same time balancing that with staying aggressive and physical.
And then Mason, do you want to ask? You all played yesterday. UCLA will have had 10 days off. Do you feel that's an advantage for you all possibly going into this, just having that match under your belt?
I've actually thought about it because like last year we were kind of in the position they are. You get that game off, but you also don't get to play in the arena. Obviously practice here, but I think it gives an interesting perspective of maybe you have some momentum going from the quarterfinals to the semifinals.
Jason Conisher from the Honolulu Star Advertiser. Coach, to kind of go along with what Mason and Aiden were talking about, did you see growth going through that adversity of that weekend against UCLA, or kind of maybe expose some things that you guys were able to address going forward?
Absolutely. Early in the year, the way the schedule kind of played out, you have some non-conference matches. We played some Canadian teams, and then you get into our crossover conference regionally with some of the MPSF teams, and sometimes there's an artificial confidence or comfort level, and sometimes when you come out of those part of the schedule, and this seems like historically our February really plays out or shows some strengths and some weaknesses in our game. I think we took a lot. I think we took a lot of good from that month, and I think we also exposed quite a few things we needed to get better at. And it's not necessarily just the tactical part of the game or technique. It was more mindset wise, and that like I said, that balance of making sure that we're trying to play in a system that we want to play, but at the same time keeping the same balance of physicality behind the end line, serving, calculated risk behind the end line, out of system volleyball, because a lot of times in those matches there's aggressive serving from both sides, out of system block and defense, transition, because you end up in those situations a lot when teams are aggressive from the end line. So yeah, I think what it did, it was a really good reality check, making sure that we were putting in the right effort and intentful training to those areas that we're going to get exposed through the Big West and into the playoffs.
Aiden, I'm sure you get this question a lot, so apologies for asking in advance, but I'm sure you've answered before. But what's the best thing about playing for your father?
Well, I haven't gotten that one before.
Yeah.
But I don't know. I'd say that we do a pretty good job of separating the relationship we have on and off the court, and I think the on the court relationship that we have is pretty special. We understand each other, and he knows my goals, and I obviously wouldn't want to play against him because he knows everything that I do and the offense I want to run. So it's nice having him in my corner.
And then, Coach, switching gears a little bit here, do want to ask you about Mason Briggs. You've seen so much high-level volleyball, the Olympics and everything. How do you think Mason's game compares right now to the top liberos in the world?
Yeah, I think he's right there with those guys. I think the jump from the junior levels into the collegiate ranks, into the international ranks, it usually becomes the reaction time, the physicality of the game. It's not about the technique of the game. I think Mason volleyball IQ, his technique, his passion for the game, his ability to play at a high level, his communication, all those things are on par with all of the great liberos. The transition will be another jump of the consistent 75-mile-an-hour serve, and I think he does great with that. But once you start to see that as a regular thing with 4 guys on each team you play against and every guy in your practice gym, you get even more comfortable with that. So as that transition happens, which is a normal one, whether it's when Rich did it or Eric did it from leaving Stanford into being the national team libero, they all go through that adjustment, but they all make it. It's just a matter of seeing it consistency. I compare it a lot to in baseball of just seeing a 100-mile-an-hour fastball consistently. You're going to catch up to it eventually, and it's going to be very routine. And I think that jump, and that's not a Mason thing, that's just a natural passer thing into the next level. But yeah, absolutely has all the ingredients to do really, really well at that next level.
And then, Coach, I'm asking this question in the context of your career views. You've had so much success, but I know that everything is a learning opportunity. So in your coaching career, what's been a disappointment or a failure on the court, and what have you learned from that?
There's been a whole bunch. I mean, I fail all the time. Fail as a player, fail as an assistant coach, fail as a head coach, and you fail probably more than you certainly succeed, at least if you're ranking that off of just, winning the final game. So there's just too many to point out. I think that where you're really good as a coach, hopefully, is assessing those not to continue to fail in those areas. The ones that you have control over. There's only so much we have control over. But, making how you go about game management, how you go about player selection, overtraining, undertraining, recruiting, bringing certain guys into the program, taking risk on guys. I mean, the list goes on and on and on the things that I failed at. But I think that hopefully as a coach who's done this for a while, I fail at those things a lot less at this point in my career, and that controls what I can control and puts us in a better situation to be successful at the end. But no, as a player and as a coach, you fail all the time, and it's unfortunate, But either way, the next day you're gonna start it again, and you're gonna try not to, right? If you're process driven as a player and as a coach, so there's not that. I don't have that one standout moment like it was like a wow, I figured it out on this one failure. I just think it's one of those things of constantly trying to get better, constantly trying to communicate with my players and my staff about trying to get better, being vulnerable to even the players sometimes and letting them know. There's been times this year that I remember coming into the locker room saying it's 100% on me in this situation or this match. And being okay with people understanding in your support group that they can help you get better. My staff helps me all the time, and the players help me all the time.
Coach, good morning. How do you? I know your focus is on UCLA, but how do you see that second semifinal?
Wow. Yeah, you're talking about a really, really good Hawaii team who's actually obviously on a nice run right now with a lot of returning guys with a lot of experience. But you're also talking about playing against a team that beat them in a tough match at Stan Sheriff, who's returning their entire group and a lot of COVID guys who I would imagine if they feel confident winning in Stan Sheriff, they probably feel like they can do it here at George Mason. At the same time, it's a Hawaii team who's had a lot of success and plays a high level of volleyball and has played really well in big matches. I would love it to see, just for both teams' sake, it play out to be a close one. And that's not because I want to see some sort of 5-gamer for an advantage of whoever comes out of our semi. But it was more that both of those teams have special groups. And I just hope both of those teams play to their capability, because at that point, I think either team can win that match.
Aiden, do you have any thoughts on that?
Same page. I mean, Penn State has a bunch of those 6-year guys who are playing really good volleyball, and then obviously Hawaii has stacked a couple good seasons of high-level volleyball, so it's going to be interesting at a neutral site to see it.
I mean, would you like to see the Warriors again? Just because you guys seem to keep doing this every year.
I mean, the greedy part of me says, yeah, I would love to play Hawaii again, but I mean, I just want to get to that match first.
Coach, final question for me, and I'm going to, this time last year, ask you a question at the NCAA Tournament about what we can do to grow the game. So a year later, I just want to ask, how do you feel that we've done in this year in terms of growing the sport?
It's another trap question.
No,
so I can go
not me.
viral.
I'm sorry, not me.
Look, we're growing the game. There's no doubt. My point is that with all of it is that I just feel like with men's volleyball, we need to continue to get it out in front. One of the things that we talk about all the time at Long Beach is that when you have opportunities to bring new people to the pyramid to watch a game, and we can put them in our front row seating across from the benches, people that are sports fans, not necessarily volleyball fans. When they come and they sit that close in a men's volleyball game, they come back. The game is that special. The athletes are that special. When they get a chance to interact with the athletes that play men's volleyball, they want to be part of it. They want to help. When they hear the story of the majority of all the players in this tournament are paying their own tuition to do this, they want to help. When they hear the story of them coming from all over the world and all the hardships that they've gone through to get to this point, they want to help. But more importantly, when they get to meet these young men, it doesn't matter what program across the board, they want to be part of these kids' journey. And I just think why I want to push for the growth of it is because it's a special product, not only because of the volleyball all these teams are playing, but because of who these young men are. And it's a product of their universities and the coaches that we have in this game. And I know that there's a lot of reasons why maybe we don't get as much publicity as that we would like. But I think we just got to push every avenue we can to expose people to the type of people that are playing this game, the coaches that are involved in it, and most importantly, the product, and get them to tell the story of a 4.5 scholarship sport means families and athletes are investing in this and most likely going into debt to put on this wonderful show everyone gets to experience at a level significantly different than a lot of the sports that are drawn attention, because those ones are 12 and plus full ride scholarship sports. And I just think it's really special, and being part of it, I'm very proud of our sport. I'm proud of the coaches, and I'm really proud of the product of what you watch in these championship matches. And I just want to continue to open the eyes to the country to see that there's a, you know, I think last year we talked about it was a secret. I don't know if it's exactly a secret after I said that last year anymore, but I still think that there's a lot of opportunity for people to see our game, and the people that do have control of making sure there's media attention, and you know, whether it's social media or any attention or growth where we're hoping to go next year. I highly encourage that because it's something incredibly special, and it's as healthy as it's ever been as far as competition.
Now, one for Mason and Aiden, just going back to last night, it was really balanced across the board offensively, right? So how gratifying is that for you guys, knowing you're taking care of the first and second touches, to be able to spread it out the way you guys did that?
Well, I'm going to pump up my passers. They made my job really easy last night, and whenever you see a match of balance across the board of attempts and hitting percentage, it just means we're passing the ball really well. Because that way I'm able to run the offense I want to run without having a ton of stress on my shoulders and feeling like I'm going in and out of system. So passers keeping me on the net last night was big and made my life easy.
He always gives us the credit, but the real credit is to him that we have the ability to go in and out of medium systems. Someone rips a serve, we have that freedom and that comfort to, you know, bring it off the net a little bit and be comfortable there because we know he's comfortable there. He won't really tell you that, but I think that's where he thrives and we thrive as a team, that he's able to keep us in system and continue to run a balanced offense throughout the entire match, and the ebbs and flows of the match, and maybe they go on a run here or there, or maybe it's perfect for a while and then he's out of it for a while, and then it just turns into a different game every set, really. So credit to him and the hitters and the passers next to me that just keep that machine running smoothly throughout the entire match.
Coach, obviously there are great matchups across the board on both sides, but how much are you looking forward to seeing that matchup with in the middles with, you know, Simon and Merrick on the other side?
Yeah, Merrick's had a tremendous year. There's no doubt about it. He's a very talented player, and you know, looking at statistically what he was able to do in the NPSF tournament, yeah, he's doing some really special things offensively. But you know, we pride ourselves in some things that, you know, with our blocking, and obviously what Simon can do, and I'm sure that'll be interesting when that matchup ends up being those two. But we can't get too caught up in that because it's one of those things. There's not a whole lot in perfect situation when they set him. It's you would like to just make sure that they're not just real comfortable at the net setting him, you know, 50-50 balls all night long. But then again, every team in the country has tried that this year, and he still had quite a bit of success. So we're gonna have to do it in a lot of different ways. It's not gonna just come in one way to have success against their middles. It'll be hopefully some serving and some blocking, some defense, and get points where you can, and then if not, side out and keep spinning the dial on the side outside.
All right, thank you guys. Best of luck tomorrow.
Okay, thank you guys.